It's funny how the mind works, right? Like I couldn't tell you what I wore yesterday, and I probably couldn't even tell you what I ate for breakfast, and that was just 3 hours ago. But there's always one day that I can tell you about, and that day is Saturday, January 31st, 2004. Thanks to a distracted driver, that is one day that I will never forget. You see, distracted driving could quite possibly be one of the most dangerous 5-second acts any person could take. And today I'd like to discuss with you a little bit about distracted driving, talk about some statistics and facts, share with you my own personal experience, and then we'll discuss steps that you can take to be a more cognizant driver and passenger. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the causes of distracted driving, and thanks to the cdc.gov site, I can share them with you. There's 3 of them. There's visual, manual, and cognitive. Now we've all taken our eyes off the road, taken our hands off the wheels, and maybe we've even taken our minds off driving, possibly thinking about the next topic you're going to be discussing in Professor Kopp's speech class, right? Now we've all done these things. We're all guilty of them. I am, I'm sure you guys are, but I'm always blown away at the things I see people doing driving down the expressway. Shaving, putting on makeup, changing their clothes. You see, it's distractions like those that cause statistics like these that I found on distraction.gov from 2014. Did you know that 1 in 5 crashes involve some sort of distraction? Over 430,000 people were injured that year. Additionally, over 3,000 people were killed. That's 9 people each day. I also checked out nhtsa.gov and found some interesting facts for you guys. Did you know drivers in their 20s, so people around your age, make up more than 27% of distracted driving fatalities? And at any given daylight time, there's more than 660,000 drivers using their cell phones, either to make a call or some sort of text. Now imagine this. You're driving down the road, 55 miles an hour. You reach over to grab that cell phone, check that text Aunt Sally just sent you about the barbecue she's having this weekend. Well, that's 5 seconds. You just took your eyes off the road. And in those 5 seconds, you traveled more than a football field. That's over 120 yards. Now, those kinds of distractions lead me to remember this day, January 31st, 2004. I remember it really vividly, right? I was back home in Chicago. It's 0 degrees outside. It is sunshiny as could be, and it's 14 days before I'm supposed to get married. I got my man over here, my daughter here, my laptop in front of me, and my phone rings, and I pick it up, and I answer it, and it's my niece. For the life of me, I cannot tell what she is saying. I can't figure out if she is laughing or is she crying. And I finally get her to compose herself and calm down. And that's when she proceeds to tell me that my brother Ira was just hit by a car. Now you see, my brother, he had this wild idea. My mother just survived a brain aneurysm the previous year. This was her 1-year anniversary. He says, oh, let's all get together. Let's go on a cruise and let's celebrate. So my mother, my brother, my father, my sister, my niece, and my nephew, they all jump into this limo and they're driving down the expressway. And on the way down to the airport, a piece of luggage falls out. So that limo driver, he turns around, he pulls over on the other side of the road. My brother jumps out, hops the concrete barrier, runs across 3 lanes of traffic, grabs that suitcase, and he starts heading back. But on the way back, one of the wheels gets stuck. And at that same moment, this woman is driving straight at him, going more than 65 miles an hour, but she is too distracted to see him. Too distracted to notice that all 3 lanes are open, and he is clearly visible. And at that moment, she proceeds to hit him, knock him up in the air, and send him crashing back down into that concrete barrier, all the while my entire family is watching. 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds led to this. Many broken bones, several skull fractures, and he was in a coma for 6.5 weeks. 6.5 weeks for 5 seconds. Now, before this, you gotta understand my brother. He was a real ladies' man. He was the life of the party. He was a bodybuilder that was built like a brick shithouse. He was a software consultant making 6 figures, and he was living the dream. And in those 5 seconds, that woman completely crushed his dream, left him to live with the aftermath. A traumatic brain injury, a left side deficit and retired at the age of 33. Because of that brain injury, his mind doesn't process things the way that it used to. It sends confusing signals to the left side of his body, and all of his muscles contract at the same time, leaving him in severe and chronic pain. Now my brother, he's the type of guy who, he tries to do the best he can and learn from these experiences. And he says, what can we take away from this? What can we figure out so that this doesn't happen again? And we came up with some solutions. Now, I talked to him, and we went out on the dmv.org site, and we actually came up with the things that you can do. Now, I forgot part of my speech, and I'm going to back that up because it's really important, and I'm sorry, because there's something I want to share with you. You see, my brother, he has to live with this every single day for the rest of his life. He had to start all over again when he got hit by this woman. He had to learn how to pee. He had to learn how to eat, how to drink, how to get dressed. And to this day, 12 and a half years later, it still takes him more than 30 minutes just to get his clothes on. And by the time he is done, he is such a hot, sweaty mess that he probably should take a shower all over again, but he doesn't have the time or the energy to do it. And that's when we had our discussion. We had to figure out what people could do, how this could be changed. What are the solutions? And we came up with 4. Again, thanks to the dmv.org and my brother. The first one is really simple. It's be mindful. You see, the more we do the same tasks over and over again, the more we put ourselves on autopilot. We don't think about what we're doing. How many of you have actually driven to a destination over an hour away, and for the life of you, you couldn't tell anyone how you got there or what you saw along the way? We have to be more mindful. The second thing is knowing that multitasking is a complete misnomer. You cannot drive and do 1 or 5 other things at the same time and give it the attention that it needs, that it deserves. The third one is to be a more engaged passenger. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, I don't want to be the backseat Sally driver, and I don't want to either. But think about it this way. The minute you get into that car, you just put your entire life into the hands of that driver. Don't you think you owe it to yourself to be more engaged? Aren't 2 sets of eyes better than 1? Possibly reducing your chances of being in some kind of injury or fatality? And the last thing we came up with was to download an app for your phone. There's several apps out there. Some of them actually block incoming and outgoing texts and calls. And this can be quite beneficial. Although I might be a little tempted, maybe some of you might be too, having the phone sitting there thinking, let me just check it just for 5 seconds, right? And to that I say, throw it in the trunk, check in the back seat. Do whatever it takes to keep yourself from taking your eyes off the road for those 5 seconds. Now today, I've talked to you a little bit about distracted driving and the causes, visual, manual, and cognitive. I've also shared with you my brother's experience and what he's going to continue to live with for the rest of his life. And then I talked to you about some statistics and facts, and we even went over some solutions. But really what it comes down to, what it all comes down to, is that you guys have to make a choice. The choice is up to you. Are you going to be that distracted driver, looking through your purse, checking the phone, or looking for that French fry you lost between the seat and the armrest? Or are you going to be a more engaged driver, knowing full well that you are in charge of a 2,000-pound vehicle that could change the life of one or many in just 5 seconds? And there's one thing that my brother really wanted me to share with you. He felt this was extremely important. He said, Cherie, no matter what you do, please tell them this, because this is my key takeaway. He said, Cherie, tell them, be careful of the choices you make, because you just might have to live through them.